Hello, ladies and gentlemen. In the labyrinth of the human mind, the four functions thinking, feeling, sensing, and intuition serve as the primary vehicles through which we experience and interpret the world. Each function carries its own unique perspective, yet they are not separate, isolated entities. Rather, they are interwoven aspects of the whole psyche, working together sometimes harmoniously, sometimes in tension. The psyche's deep architecture is built upon these four modes of perception, each contributing its own layer to our conscious and unconscious experiences. The interplay between these functions forms the very fabric of our personality, guiding us in our interactions with both the external world and our inner lives. For each individual, one function will often be more prominent, rising to the surface of consciousness and acting as the primary means of understanding and interacting with the world. This dominant function shapes our behavior, influences our decisions, and even colors the way we perceive reality. However, this dominant function does not work in isolation. It is always accompanied by the other three, each in varying degrees of prominence, either supporting or challenging the primary function. The unconscious mind is a vast reservoir of potential, where these functions exist in varying states of equilibrium or imbalance, guiding our internal development. The mind is a dynamic system, constantly shifting between conscious and unconscious states. At times, the dominant function takes the lead, while at other moments the auxiliary functions may emerge, offering a different perspective. It is this fluid interaction, this constant dance between the functions, that shapes the human experience. The individual may not always be aware of the underlying influence of the less conscious functions, but their presence can be felt in the background, subtly influencing thoughts, feelings, and actions. The task of self-awareness is to bring these unconscious dynamics into the light of consciousness, allowing for greater integration and harmony within the psyche. In the realm of the unconscious, all four functions exist in a state of potentiality. They are not rigidly fixed, they are fluid, capable of development and transformation. The psyche's innate drive toward wholeness requires that these functions be allowed to unfold and develop throughout the course of life. When the psyche is in a state of imbalance, the underdeveloped functions may struggle to emerge, creating conflict or stagnation. Conversely, when the functions are allowed to develop in harmony, they contribute to the individuation process, guiding the individual toward greater self-realization. Each function offers a distinct way of perceiving and engaging with the world. Thinking provides structure, clarity, and logical organization. Feeling enables us to navigate the realm of values and emotions, connecting us to what is meaningful. Sensing anchors us in the present moment, grounding us in sensory experience, and intuition opens the door to the unseen, offering us glimpses of deeper meaning and future possibilities. These functions are not just mental tools, they are pathways to understanding the entire breadth of the psyche, illuminating the hidden corners of our consciousness and allowing us to integrate the conscious with the unconscious. As we navigate through life, we must recognize that no single function holds dominion over the entirety of the psyche. The complexity of the human experience requires that all four functions be engaged in varying degrees, each offering its own wisdom. When we learn to appreciate the subtleties of these functions, we come closer to understanding not just who we are, but also the deeper currents that move within us. It is through this understanding that we begin to unlock the full potential of the psyche, discovering new dimensions of awareness and bringing the unconscious into conscious experience. Thinking is the function that illuminates the path of rationality, allowing the individual to impose order on the chaotic expanse of experience. It is the faculty of the mind that analyzes, categorizes, and creates concepts, transforming raw perception into understandable frameworks. With its logical structures, it builds systems of meaning that make sense of the world. Without thinking, the world would appear in its raw, unprocessed form, overwhelming the individual with its complexity and uncertainty. It is through thinking that we are able to dissect and comprehend our reality, organizing it into digestible parts, each fitting neatly into a broader understanding. Yet the power of thinking, like all faculties, comes with its limitations. When left unchecked, it can become overly rigid and detached from the intuitive flow of the unconscious. The very structure that was once meant to serve us can become a prison, trapping us in a narrow, one-dimensional view of the world. Thinking, in its extreme, seeks only what can be logically understood and verified, disregarding the subtler, irrational dimensions of human experience. In this way, thinking can blind us to the richness of life, cutting us off from the deeper, more mysterious layers of the psyche that dwell in the unconscious. The danger of over-relying on thinking is that it loses its connection to the other functions that complete the human experience. Feeling, sensing, and intuition are no longer given space to contribute, leaving thinking to dominate the psyche. In such a state, the individual may become lost in an intellectual maze surrounded by facts and analysis, yet without the warmth of emotion, the grounding of sensory experience, or the depth of intuitive insight. This imbalance can lead to a sense of isolation or existential disconnection, where logic and reason no longer serve their true purpose of guiding us through life, but instead act as barriers to true understanding. Wisdom, however, does not emerge from thinking alone. True insight is born from the integration of all four functions, where thinking works in concert with feeling, sensing, and intuition. Each function brings its own form of understanding to the table, contributing to a more complete and harmonious view of reality. Thinking offers clarity and structure, but it must be tempered by the warmth of feeling, which connects us to values and relationships. The sensory richness of the world, provided by sensing, grounds thinking in practical, lived experience, while intuition offers the ability to see beyond the surface and recognize deeper meanings and possibilities. The task of the individual, then, is not to reject thinking, but to recognize its rightful place within the greater tapestry of the psyche. Thinking must learn to coexist with the other functions, each balancing and correcting the excesses of the others. It is only when thinking is integrated with the unconscious and the other modes of perception that it can fulfill its true purpose, providing us not just with intellectual clarity, but with the wisdom to navigate the complexities of life in a way that honors both reason and mystery. In its fullest expression, thinking becomes a beacon of light that illuminates the path toward personal growth. It provides the clarity to understand the world and ourselves, but it is only when we embrace the entirety of the psyche, with its diverse functions, that we can achieve true understanding. The light of thinking, when harmonized with the depths of the unconscious, becomes not a prison of reason, but a guiding force that leads us toward wholeness. Feeling, in its essence, is the compass that directs us toward what is most meaningful in life. It is the function through which we experience our emotions and our deepest values, acting as a guide to what we cherish, what we reject, and what we perceive as right or wrong. Unlike thinking, which seeks to categorize and rationalize, feeling operates on a more personal, subjective level, attuned to the emotional tone of our experiences. It is through feeling that we connect to the heart of what it means to be human, navigating the vast landscape of relationships, desires, and ethical choices. This function enables us to understand not just what we think, but what we care about. It shapes our moral compass and influences how we relate to others. When feeling is in its balanced state, it leads us toward empathy, compassion, and a sense of personal integrity. It connects us to our deeper values, allowing us to make choices that are aligned with our sense of self and our sense of what is just and good. Feeling reveals what is essential to our soul's journey, guiding us to find meaning in our interactions and our decisions. However, like all functions, feeling can become distorted when it is not held in balance. When it becomes too dominant, it may overshadow reason and logic, clouding judgment with excessive sentimentality or subjectivity. The pure emotional response may bypass rational consideration, leading to impulsive decisions that are not in alignment with the greater reality. In such a state, feeling may foster relationships or choices based more on emotional attachment than on sound ethical judgment, causing one to cling to desires or attachments that are ultimately unhealthy or unsustainable. This ungrounded emotionality can lead to confusion and moral ambiguity, where right and wrong become obscured by personal bias. Furthermore, an unchecked reliance on feeling may cause one to be overly reactive to the emotions of others, leading to a state where decisions are constantly influenced by external emotional cues rather than an internalized sense of value. This imbalance can create turbulence in relationships as the individual becomes swept away by the emotional currents of others, losing touch with their own core values in the process. The path of least resistance may seem to be following the emotional flow, but true strength and clarity come from integrating feeling with the rational and objective insights of thinking. True ethical guidance arises from the union of feeling and thinking, where our emotions are informed by logical understanding and our reason is enlivened by empathy and compassion. It is only when we integrate these two functions that we gain a fuller, more grounded perspective on life. Thinking offers us the discernment needed to evaluate situations objectively, while feeling provides us with the wisdom of the heart to understand the significance of our choices. Together, they form a unified ethical compass where decisions are not driven by blind emotion or detached logic, but by a harmonious balance of both. In this union, we find our deeper moral integrity. Feeling without thinking can lead us astray, but thinking without feeling can strip us of the very human qualities that make our choices meaningful. The balance between these two functions fosters a healthy inner dialogue, where intellect and emotion coexist and enrich one another. This synergy allows us to navigate the complexities of life with both clarity and compassion, ensuring that our actions are aligned with our truest values and aspirations. When feeling and thinking are harmonized, we find ourselves at the center of our own ethical universe, equipped not just with rational insight, but with a deep understanding of what matters most. This balance is the key to living authentically, with a sense of personal meaning and social responsibility, guided by a compass that points toward both wisdom and compassion. Sensing is the function that anchors us in the here and now, attuning us to the immediate, tangible reality of our surroundings. It is through sensing that we experience the richness of the physical world, the colors of the sunset, the texture of a stone, the sound of a bird's call. This function is our direct link to the present moment, allowing us to perceive the details of life as they unfold before us. It is the sensory experience that brings life into focus, grounding us in the physical realm and reminding us that reality is made up not just of thoughts and feelings, but of the concrete world we can touch, see, and hear. Through sensing, we become attuned to the practicalities of life. It is sensing that allows us to navigate the external world with precision, drawing our attention to the details that others may overlook. Whether we are focused on the task at hand or simply appreciating the beauty of nature, sensing keeps us rooted in the present, ensuring that we are aware of the sensory impressions that form the basis of our experience. This function offers us a sense of stability, providing the necessary foundation for our daily existence, reminding us of the importance of the physical world and the sensory details that enrich our lives. However, when sensing is allowed to dominate the psyche, it can become limiting. By focusing too intently on immediate sensory data, one may lose sight of the broader context and deeper meanings that lie beyond the surface. The world can become reduced to a series of isolated impressions, each sensation standing alone without connection to a larger pattern or significance. In this state, sensing can become myopic, fixating on what is immediately in front of us and neglecting the unseen forces that shape our experience. This narrow focus can lead to a disconnection from the more abstract or future-oriented aspects of life, where the richness of imagination, intuition, and reflection is ignored. The strength of sensing lies in its ability to keep us grounded in reality, but it must be balanced by the other functions to prevent it from becoming an obsession with the immediate. When sensing is integrated with thinking, we gain the ability to analyze and interpret the sensory data we receive, placing it within a meaningful context. When combined with feeling, sensing becomes enriched with emotional depth, allowing us to experience the world not only through our senses, but also through our values and emotional responses. And when sensing is paired with intuition, we begin to see beyond the immediate, perceiving patterns, meanings, and possibilities that lie hidden beneath the surface. In its untempered form, sensing can easily become attached to the fleeting, superficial aspects of life, perpetually engaged in the pursuit of immediate gratification. This can create an unhealthy attachment to the external world, where the individual becomes obsessed with sensory pleasures, comfort, or material concerns, losing touch with the deeper, more enduring aspects of life. In such a state, the psyche may become fragmented, focused only on the present moment, disconnected from the greater flow of time and the unconscious depths that guide us. The challenge, then, is to find balance. Sensing must be allowed to flourish as it connects us to the concrete world, but it must also be guided by the other functions to avoid becoming a tunnel vision that limits our experience. It is only through the integration of sensing with thinking, feeling, and intuition that we can truly appreciate the full depth of our experience. Sensing provides the raw material of life, the sensory data that forms the foundation of our world, but it is through the interplay of all four functions that we derive meaning from it, crafting a holistic, richer understanding of the reality around us. Intuition is the function that reaches beyond the immediate, beyond the tangible, and beyond the surface of our daily experience. It operates as a bridge to the unconscious, allowing us to perceive patterns and connections that are not readily visible to the rational mind. Where sensing brings our attention to the concrete, intuition draws us to the abstract, to what is hidden beneath the veil of the known world. It provides us with glimpses of meaning and possibility, offering insights that arise from the depths of the psyche, often without our conscious awareness of their origins. Through intuition, we touch the collective unconscious, a realm that connects us to the broader currents of humanity, where we encounter archetypal symbols, universal themes, and timeless truths. This function is not concerned with the present moment alone. Instead, it allows us to perceive the future, to sense what is coming, or to grasp subtle undercurrents in our relationships and environment. Intuition sees the connections between things that logic cannot explain, recognizing the interwoven threads that bind reality together. It is through intuition that we gain flashes of insight, those moments when something clicks within us, and we suddenly understand a deeper truth or see a solution to a problem that had previously eluded us. This ability to perceive what lies beyond the obvious is a gift, but like all gifts, it requires careful cultivation and discernment. However, intuition, when not grounded, can become disconnected from the practical world. It is easy for the intuitive mind to wander into flights of fantasy or speculative musings, detached from reality and the needs of the moment. When unchecked, intuition can lead us away from the present, creating visions of possibility that have no basis in the real world, encouraging us to chase illusions rather than tangible outcomes. The mind, in its yearning for deeper meaning, can drift into abstraction, losing touch with the here and now, and we may find ourselves lost in reverie, disconnected from the immediate demands of life. The challenge with intuition is to learn to discern its true insights from the noise of unfounded speculation. While intuition taps into a deeper well of wisdom, it is not always easy to differentiate between genuine, valuable insights and flights of fancy. Intuitive impressions may come in the form of images, symbols, or sudden realizations, but without the anchoring influence of the other functions, these impressions can become distorted. Intuition requires the discerning eye of thinking to evaluate its relevance, the emotional depth of feeling to sense its alignment with our values, and the grounding presence of sensing to ensure that it remains connected to reality. When intuition is properly integrated with the other functions, it becomes a powerful tool for understanding the unseen forces that shape our world. It provides us with the capacity to see beyond the immediate, to perceive what others may miss, and to sense the subtle forces that govern events and relationships. In this way, intuition complements the more tangible functions of sensing and thinking, offering depth and perspective that cannot be found through mere sensory observation or logical analysis. It enables us to navigate life with foresight, drawing on the wisdom of the unconscious to guide our decisions and actions. Mastery of intuition then involves learning to trust its insights while also grounding them in the realities of the practical world. It requires the individual to cultivate a relationship with their unconscious, developing a sensitivity to the deeper currents that run beneath everyday experience. By learning to integrate intuition with sensing, feeling, and thinking, we gain access to a fuller, richer understanding of life, where the visible and the invisible, the rational and the irrational work together in harmony. Through this integration, intuition reveals its true power not as a disconnected fantasy, but as a bridge to the deeper wisdom of the psyche. The dominant function is the central axis around which the ego's perception of the world revolves. It is the primary mode through which an individual interacts with their surroundings, influencing how they perceive events, make decisions, and relate to others. This function becomes deeply ingrained in the psyche, often operating in an unconscious and automatic manner. It shapes the person's identity, determining what feels most comfortable and natural in their approach to life. Whether it is thinking, feeling, sensing, or intuition, the dominant function becomes the lens through which the individual processes all experiences, often without conscious awareness of the underlying influence. Because the dominant function is so deeply embedded in the ego's framework, it governs not only the individual's actions but also their worldview. It creates a sense of order and coherence, guiding the person toward what they value and prioritize. The dominant function is closely tied to the ego's sense of self. It defines the person's strengths and inclinations, dictating their default responses to the world. For instance, someone with a dominant thinking function may gravitate toward logical analysis and problem solving, while someone with a dominant feeling function might be more attuned to emotional connections and value-based decisions. In either case, the dominant function provides the foundation of the individual's conscious experience, shaping their decisions, interactions, and perception of reality. However, the dominance of one function often leads to an unconscious suppression of the others. The psyche becomes imbalanced when the individual relies too heavily on their dominant function, neglecting the lesser functions that offer alternative perspectives. In this state, the person may be blind to certain aspects of life, unable to perceive the richness of the world through the other functions. The dominant function, though essential for navigating the world, can create limitations, as it distorts the way the individual engages with reality. Over-reliance on the dominant function often leads to a one-sided personality, where the individual's growth is hindered by the inability to engage with the broader spectrum of the psyche's potential. The key to psychological growth lies in the conscious exploration of the lesser functions, those that exist beneath the surface of the dominant function. By recognizing and engaging with these functions, the individual begins to achieve a deeper, more holistic understanding of themselves. The lesser functions, whether they are feeling, sensing, or intuition, serve as necessary counterpoints to the dominant function, offering a more rounded perspective. When the individual consciously integrates these functions, they no longer remain at the mercy of the dominant function's narrow focus, but instead they begin to approach life from a more balanced, comprehensive standpoint. The process of integrating the lesser functions is not about forcing them to dominate or compete with the primary function. Rather, it is about acknowledging their value and allowing them to inform the person's experiences in a way that complements the dominant function. It is through this process of integration, not domination, that the ego expands its sense of self. As the individual learns to relate to the lesser functions, they create a more complex, multifaceted identity that encompasses a fuller range of human experience. The ego, rather than being rigid and one-dimensional, becomes more fluid, adaptable, and capable of engaging with the world from multiple angles. Through this integration of functions, the person moves toward individuation, a process of becoming a whole, integrated self. The dominant function provides the ego with direction and focus, but it is only by incorporating the lesser functions that the individual can experience the full spectrum of the psyche's potential. The ego's growth comes not from reinforcing the dominance of one function, but from embracing the richness of all four, allowing each function to contribute its unique perspective. It is through this dynamic interplay between the functions that the individual achieves a more complete and authentic sense of self, growing not in the rigidity of dominance, but in the fluidity of integration. Psychological growth, in its truest form, is a process of integration, a journey toward wholeness that involves bringing together the four functions of thinking, feeling, sensing, and intuition. Each of these functions offers a unique lens through which we interact with the world, yet it is only in their integration that the individual can transcend the limitations inherent in any one mode of perception. Thinking provides us with clarity and rationality. Feeling connects us to our values and relationships, sensing grounds us in the immediate, and intuition opens us to the deeper, hidden currents of experience. By uniting these functions, we break free from the narrow confines of any single perspective and unlock the potential for greater depth, adaptability, and insight. The journey toward integration is not about eliminating or suppressing any of the functions, but about learning to recognize their individual contributions and weaving them together into a cohesive whole. In their integration, the conscious mind expands its capacity to engage with the unconscious, where the deeper layers of the psyche reside. This balance between conscious and unconscious functions is essential to the process of individuation, the unfolding of the self. Through individuation, the person becomes more fully aligned with their true nature, moving beyond the influence of unconscious complexes and limitations to embrace the full spectrum of human experience. To achieve this integration, one must first become aware of the dominance of certain functions within the psyche. Each individual has a natural preference for one of the four functions, which shapes their worldview and informs their approach to life. However, when the dominant function is left unchecked, the person may become imbalanced, focusing too narrowly on a single mode of perception, while neglecting the richness that the other functions offer. The process of integration requires a conscious effort to engage with these lesser functions, to allow them to inform and enrich the dominant function. In this way, the individual opens themselves to a fuller, more nuanced understanding of themselves and the world. The benefits of such integration are profound. When all four functions are in balance, the person is able to perceive the world with greater flexibility and depth. Thinking, while offering structure and clarity, is no longer rigid or disconnected from emotional depth, intuitive insight, or sensory richness. Feeling, in turn, is informed by rational thought, helping to guide ethical decisions without being swayed by unchecked emotion. Sensing becomes a means of accessing the present moment while simultaneously connecting to the broader possibilities and patterns that intuition perceives. Intuition, when grounded by sensing and thinking, becomes a powerful tool for insight and foresight, guiding the individual through life's complexities with both vision and practicality. This integration leads to greater adaptability, as the individual is no longer restricted by the limitations of a single function. Instead, they are able to approach challenges from multiple angles, drawing upon the strengths of each function to find solutions that are more comprehensive and effective. The resulting wholeness provides a deeper sense of inner harmony, as the individual aligns their conscious self with the unconscious dimensions of their psyche, achieving greater self-awareness and personal growth. The ultimate goal of this integration is the realization of the self, an experience of unity and completeness that transcends the fragmented aspects of the ego. The self is not merely a sum of its parts, but a dynamic, living whole that emerges when the individual reconciles the different facets of their personality and psyche. It is in the integration of the four functions that we move toward this realization, as each function brings its own unique contribution to the larger picture of who we are. Through the harmonious interplay of thinking, feeling, sensing, and intuition, we access the full potential of our being, creating a richer, more fulfilling experience of life that is both deeply grounded and expansively aware. Thus, the path to wholeness is the path of integration. It is through the conscious effort to unite the four functions that the individual achieves true psychological growth, embracing both the conscious and unconscious elements of the self. As we balance and integrate these functions, we step into a more profound relationship with our own inner world, becoming more adaptable, insightful, and ultimately whole. And lastly, the journey toward understanding and integrating the four functions of thinking, feeling, sensing, and intuition is the path to psychological wholeness and self-realization. Each function serves as a unique channel of perception, providing us with distinct ways of engaging with the world around us. When left in isolation, any one function can distort our understanding and limit our experience. However, it is through the conscious effort to recognize and balance all four functions that we unlock the full potential of the psyche, transcending the limitations of the ego and embracing a more comprehensive way of being. The dominant function, though crucial in shaping our identity and guiding our daily experiences, should not become the sole lens through which we navigate the world. It is through the integration of the lesser functions, those that we may not naturally favor, that we achieve a deeper, more nuanced understanding of ourselves. The process of individuation, the unfolding of the self, involves not only recognizing the dominant function, but also cultivating an awareness of and connection to the other functions, allowing them to inform and enrich our perception. This integration brings balance to the psyche, making us more adaptable and resilient in the face of life's complexities. As we integrate thinking, feeling, sensing, and intuition, we create a more harmonious and flexible framework for approaching the world. Each function, in its balanced form, enhances the others, leading to a richer, more layered experience of life. Thinking provides us with clarity and logic, but it is tempered by feeling, which infuses our decisions with empathy and values. Sensing roots us in the present, while intuition opens us to future possibilities and hidden patterns. Together, these functions offer a fuller understanding of ourselves and the world, allowing us to navigate life with both depth and insight. The process of integration is not one of domination or competition, but of collaboration. The true strength of the psyche lies in the harmonious interaction between the functions, where each function complements the others rather than striving for superiority. This balance not only facilitates personal growth, but also fosters deeper connections with others, as we are better able to understand and relate to different perspectives. By embracing the full spectrum of the psyche's potential, we step into a more authentic and expansive experience of life, grounded in both our inner wisdom and the external world. The journey toward integration and wholeness is the journey of becoming the true self. It is a continuous process of exploration, recognition, and transformation, where the conscious mind engages fully with the unconscious, and the ego opens itself to the deeper dimensions of the psyche. Through this integration, we achieve a sense of unity, not only within ourselves, but also with the world around us. It is through the balance of all four functions that we realize our full potential, moving toward a life that is not only intellectually rich, but emotionally, spiritually, and intuitively alive. Thanks for watching.